Hey guys and girls, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. A quick answer to a question. This video will be short. It's a little bit to do with fuel economy and to answer the question why. So, do you remember the older vehicles, like, you know, when everybody had Falcons and Commodores and some other cars, that sort of thing? But do you remember, and they still do it now, you've got the city cycle and the highway cycle and what they say you'll get, how many litres per 100k type thing? Well, have you ever noticed that you get your city cycle and then you get out on the highway and it's either the same or worse? It doesn't actually get better with some vehicles. So I'm going to try and explain it. So let's say the old Falcons and Commodores, it was a V6 or a 6-cylinder of sorts. Could be a V8. Let's just do the 6 cylinders because they were more common. So just quickly, it takes time. The engine starts up cold, it's on choke, it takes time to warm up, so extra fuel's going in. And then there's all these, you know, because it's urban, what do you call it? You know, you're driving around the suburbs, stop, start driving. Every time you accelerate off, that's where you burn the most fuel. Once you're at cruising altitude, once you're at speed, then you don't use as much fuel, right? So the problem with these vehicles was stop, start, petrol engines, so they chewed the fuel, but you'd get out on the freeway, the open road, and you might get 10 litres per 100 k's, or 12 or 15 or whatever it was, whatever seemed good then compared to 20 when you were doing all your stop, start driving. That's probably what it was probably close to 20, and it came down to about 12, or a lot of variables, I know, right? But you get what I mean? They were that sort of aerodynamic vehicle that the weight of it, the cold starts, the stop starts used fuel, but once you get out on the open road, it's safe fuel. Now, what happens? We're going to use this Prado for an example. This isn't picking on Prados. This is going to be the same. Doesn't matter if it's a Pajero or an MUX or whatever, a vehicle about that size with about that size engine. What happens in today, 2022, and probably anything recent times leading up to this point in time, basically what happens is, you know, they're a small efficient engine. This one, 2.8, they call it, 2755cc, right? Pretty small engine, pretty small vehicle without a tow bar and a trailer and all that. So I can start it up. Of course, the worst economy is going to be when it's cold, and the stop start when it's cold. So the shorter you drive, it's going to look really bad. But if you do, say, 10 k's of stop start, or the further you go, 20 k's, let's say 40 k's, you do 40 k's of 60 or 70 zones, as long as you don't take off like a rocket ship. And I don't mean parked in traffic for lengthy times. I'm talking stop start driving. You know, you get a set of red lights, you get a roundabout, you get whatever, just normal driving. You might get, let's just put a figure out there of 10 litres per 100 k's, right? Some people can get better than that, some people don't get that good. That's why we're just putting a general indication, right? 10 litres per 100 k's, I can get that. No, if I drive around, I can get 8 point something if I'm driving around in a 60 zone for 30 minutes and I'm being nice to it. And then I get out on the highway or the motorway and we're doing 100 or 110 or a bit more, whatever, depends what state we're in, of course, you know, because there's a 130 speed limit in Northern Territory. I just want to point that out. So when you travel at speeds up to 100 k's, that seems to be optimum or optimal for these sort of vehicles, okay? So if you actually drive around at 70 k's, and look, I don't recommend people drive around slow in higher speed zones just to get economy, and if you must, move to the left. Please let everybody pass. Bit of courtesy. But what I'm saying is, if you were driving around a lot in 60, 70, 80 zones, 90 zones, you could easily get 8 or 9 or 10 litres per 100 k's, something that's pretty good. Again, a lot of variables. We talked about that. You get out on the motorway and you're doing 110 and you find it's using more fuel. Well, it's quite simple because this vehicle is much larger than those Falcons and Commodores or Camrys or whatever, you know, those other vehicles that, even Camrys actually, let's exclude those from this because that's just confusing it, because they were 4-cylinder and they got the same economy, whether it was, you know, 60, 80 zones, stop, start traffic or out on the highway, for an exact same, very similar, I shouldn't say exact, very similar reason, and that is it's just a 4-cylinder. So what it's doing is it's got to work, it might be highly strung, but it's still, you might not know it, but it's doing a lot of work to push this brick. And even though it hasn't got a bull bar, this is a brick. This is high. It's very flat on the front. It's not Falcon Commodore material. I'm not saying they're the best or anything like that. I'm just saying what was around. They were more aerodynamic. They were lower. So when you got to 100 k's, you still had reasonable dynamics, so the engine did it easier. So what happens with this is you get to 100, just around that mark, it's starting to go, yeah, I've got to do a bit of work to maintain this. So all of a sudden, you're not in your optimal anymore. 100 will use more fuel. So when you look at your figures, don't think you can get out on the highway and get better economy, because whatever you get driving around in your 60, 70, 80, 90 zones, that's the best you're going to get. The faster you go, the more you use, because the engine is working hard. It's using fuel. That's what an engine does when it's working hard. It uses fuel to make the power or torque to keep the vehicle at the speed. So if you're doing 110, you can expect to get more like 11 litres per 100 Ks or 12. You know, depends on your mods, what tyres, lifts, light bars, what's on your roof rack, your trailer, your bull bars, your lights, and all that gear, right? It all makes a difference. We're not going to waste too much time. I said it was going to be a quick one. I'm just trying to paint a picture. 120, 130, 140. The faster you go, the more it uses. And that was kind of always the case, even with those other vehicles, although some of them can handle it a lot better and it makes less difference. I'll give you another example. So the Falcons with, say, the XR6 turbo, you know, the Barra engine, 6-cylinder, big 4-litre with a turbo. They did highway speed so easy because it had, you know, 550 newton meters of torque. They would maintain 110 and use little more fuel than doing 90 or 100 Ks. Do you know what I mean? Because it's got so much power and torque, it just does it so easy. Okay, now the more power and torque you've got, the better it's going to be as you increase your speed. So the less you've got, the more you increase your speed with a brick. We're going to call it a brick for this exercise. The more you increase your speed, the more fuel you're going to use, right? And it's quite a lot. I've got to say, these vehicles, for a big four-wheel drive, that's what they are. A four-wheel drive is a big car. It's a four-wheel drive. It's got a four-wheel drive driveline. It's got off-road tyres. To be able to get around, excuse me, 8-point-something litres per 100 Ks, which I can get on a decent run, even with these tyres, 8 point whatever, you know, it could be 8.3, 8.7, whatever. You can get in the 8 range. For a vehicle this size, in a 60, 70 zone, stop-start driving, is phenomenal. It's really good. That's really good for a vehicle that size. That's what I believe anyway, just my opinion, right? But then, you know, you take it out and you go, well, okay, so let's get out on the highway. It's going to be really good. What I'm trying to point out is wrong, and that's why. You get out on the highway, it's kind of like at 80 Ks, you're going to get 8 per 100, 90 Ks, you're going to get 9, 100 Ks, you're going to get 10, 11, 110 Ks, you're going to get 11, 120, you're going to get, use 12 litres per 100, and it goes on. And it's even higher than that if you've got your bull bars and your off-road tyres and stuff on your roof rack. I mean, if you are, let's just add a little bit more info to this video before we finish up. Fuel economy information. If you don't go off-road much, have 2 sets of tyres. If you can change your tyres, then that's probably good for you because it's going to save you. We've proven now at least a litre, sometimes up to 2 litres per 100 Ks, 1 to 2, depending on the vehicle, how much power it's got, whether it's auto or manual. There's all these variables once again, but the tyres actually chew the fuel. Yes, it's true, they do, okay? If you want to save, change those tyres. Take your roof rack, just take it off. Your shovel, your awning, your roof rack, just take it off. There's some of your biggest things. You can't take your bull bar off, so don't put it on there in the first place if you're not, you know, if you don't need it. If you live in a rural area where you're in the bush and you've got roos everywhere, right, every day, morning and night, or you've got to leave in the dark or get back in the dark and you're going to hit them, then I understand you need a bull bar. Well, you don't need one, but it's going to work out better. You're going to have less insurance claim repairs type thing. So yes, you kind of do need a bull bar. I get that. If you are touring Australia, you don't need a bull bar, but I suppose you might. If you've only got 4 weeks and you want to travel around Australia in 4 weeks and you've got to drive 20 hours a day at 140 kilometers an hour, then you probably need a bull bar. But you know, you're on holiday, so get up in the morning, let the sun come up, pack your stuff up, get ready, drive in daylight hours, use caution, look out for things. We've always been able to dodge everything, cows and everything, never had a problem, right? So don't put it on there because you can't take it off and it's expensive, and a lot of people will regret the drive after a bull bar being put on. A lot of people love it. Each to their own, absolutely. I'm not talking about bull bars too much in this video, but it's going to change the dynamics again. You're not going to get the good fuel economy. So if you respect good fuel economy, then don't put a bull bar on, perhaps. Do you know what I mean? Unless you go, well, I respect the cows and the, you know, and the emus and the, you know, this big stuff that's out there, whatever. I can't even think. Anyway, guys, hope you get the picture. That's why, I don't know why they still quote it, because, you know, they still quote that urban and the extra urban and all these different things. And the fact of the matter is, with these vehicles, they will, so if you go to a dealership and you road test a vehicle and you drive around in the 60, 70, 80 K zones, and you get, oh, look at that, it's getting 7.9 or 8.2. That's it. That's as good as it's going to get, baby. So don't expect better than that when you get it. If anybody says, oh, wait till you get out on the highway. No, wait till you get on the highway, all right? Because you're going to see 10s, 11s. Now, I know some people can get better than 10s on the highway, even at 110. If you've got nothing on there, or if you've got a tailwind, or you're on some terrain that's slightly downhill, there's all these variables. When we give examples and tests and put information out there, it's smart info. We've taken all this into account. It's not a, if we talk about tyres and we say, oh, look, it's not wearing, we know we've been running these tyres, these type of tyres on multiple different vehicles for many years, tried all the different pressures. We know these things really well. We specialise in Prados, vehicle technicians, right? This is what we do. Anyway, guys, that's a video. I've talked enough. That was more, I didn't plan to spend 10 minutes. That's why it uses more fuel. You just got to slow down. Anyway, if you slow down, move to the left. When you come to those overtaking lanes, don't speed up. Okay, please, when you get to an overtaking lane, if you're slow, move left and just maybe slow down a little bit if you see someone towing or a truck that hasn't got the power to pull past you. Help them get past, because this is what's going to happen. Everybody's different. They've only got a certain amount of patience. They're going to get cranky, and you're risking your own safety and others' safety if you're not being considerate. Please, consideration. And in consideration, if you like this video, smash the like button, subscribe, turn the bell on. Thanks for watching. I'm out of here. See ya.